Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. This one I'm calling Regulation, Identity, and Living as Awareness. So, the last time I was talking about once identity is corrected, reflection reorganizes. And it's not because you force it, it just does, because it has to. That's the structure of it. So, let's think about something that can still be confusing, and that's regulation. A lot of people think nervous system regulation is the goal. It's not. Remember, awareness doesn't need regulation. Awareness is always calm and stable. Awareness is not overwhelmed, ever. But when you're identified as the character and the nervous system is activated, clarity can feel totally inaccessible. And that's where regulation comes in. Regulation is not enlightenment or used as transcendence. You can use it as access, a portal to remembering who you are. So here's a clear structure. There are two reference points: identification as the character, or recognition of awareness. When you are identified as the character, whatever you do comes from the character. Your decisions, your affirmations, your attempts to shift, or attempts to calm down. That's all coming from the character. And so everything requires more effort, more management, force, and repetition. And when the nervous system is overloaded, the character will try to solve from agitation, which usually amplifies agitation. And for me, this is where regulation helps. So what do I mean when I say regulate? I mean reduce the body and mind's anxieties enough so clarity becomes available. You don't even need to access feeling safe. Just feeling safe enough will help stop spiraling. That's it. It's no big jump. Regulation does not create awareness. It reduces noise so awareness is easier to recognize. And for me, that distinction is really critical, because if you think regulation is the goal, you will constantly try to fix your state. But if you understand that awareness is already stable, then regulation becomes strategic. It's not spiritual. You regulate because the body is agitated, not because you've stepped out of awareness. You cannot do that. Step out of awareness, I mean, because it's your very nature. Now, let's clarify something else. If you are identified as the character, whatever you do will come from that identity. Remember, identity precedes action. So before you're taking action, before you're sitting to think about your desire, who are you being? Are you aware of yourself as awareness? Or is it the character that's trying to draw things to them? So if the identity is overwhelmed, the actions carry overwhelm. If the identity is separate and trying to fix, the actions carry effort. But when identity shifts to awareness, action changes automatically. And that's what we're talking about when we mention inspired action. You just find yourself doing the thing without any premeditation. It's just natural. It's the thing you would do. and it turns out to have been inspired action. So, again, when identity shifts to awareness, action changes automatically. And because that is because your reference point, who you're being, has changed. Now, here's another place people can get tripped up. They can think, if awareness is already calm, why regulate at all? And in truth, it isn't required. However, when the system is activated, you're back in the character and you're not perceiving clearly. I have found calming down first helps me remember when I am being the character. It's like trying to read while someone is blasting music next to your head. The book didn't change. Your capacity to focus most likely did, though. Regulation turns that volume down. It doesn't rewrite the book, but once the volume lowers, awareness is obvious. It's not mystical or dramatic. It's obvious. And from that place, decisions are different. When you decide something while activated, you keep touching the decision, you keep bumping up against it, you check it, you rethink it, you adjust it. Your body tightens around it. You don't really trust it because the system is still unsettled. So when you decide from awareness, you don't keep circling it because you know it's done. You decided. It's placed, and then you move on. That's the difference. Awareness is immediate. The nervous system has conditioning to unwind. Remembering identity can shift very quickly. Conditioning generally unwinds through repetition. So you can clearly recognize awareness and still feel activation in the body. That isn't contradiction, it's just layering. The structure, the foundation you're currently standing on, is your identity. Conditioning is habit in the system. And habit doesn't dissolve because you understood something once. It dissolves because you stop feeding it. And again, this is where regulation comes in. If you decide, or if you try to act, decide, or solve while the system is lit up, whatever you do will carry that charge. But if you settle the system first, what you do carries less charge. It's the same life, but you're seeing it from a different source point, as a different identity, as source. So instead of piling strategy on top of agitation, pause. Lower the activation first. And then handle only what actually requires action. That's all you need to do right now. And then remember, I am awareness. You're not saying that as a chant. You're saying it as alignment. And then, for now, leave it alone. Over time, the body learns the new reference point. It becomes normal and natural. And you don't have to keep calming yourself down because calm becomes your baseline. Regulation isn't the goal. It's how you stop amplifying the character long enough to remember who you are. So when you realize you are feeling upset, slow your breathing as best you can. Drop your shoulders as best you can and reduce input. Cut back the noise as best you can. Handle only what must be handled right now. Remember, at that time, you don't need to solve your life. You're stabilizing access. And once stabilized, awareness is clear again. And when awareness is clear, action requires less force. Over time, and I'm being honest here where I say my experience is over time, regulation becomes less necessary. It didn't happen in an instant for me. And that's because identification as awareness needed to stabilize. When it does, the quiet becomes normal. You stop needing to find peace. Instead, you're operating from it. But if you're not there yet, that's fine. When you were fully identified as the character, remember, noise felt normal. Now it doesn't. And that means you are aware. So if you're experiencing a day where feelings are jacked up, do your best not to escalate. Instead, stabilize. Identity reorganizes the reflection that you'll receive. But remember, nervous systems have momentum. So don't resist them. Instead, calm them. And from awareness, you don't need to win anything. You just remain steady, peaceful, and calm. Be well.